Yeah, I was times 5.
All right. Jessica coming here today.
I saw her card.
Okay, I guess we're ready. Oh, we're not ready?
Been a little
Well,
sick.
you know, I've been told that that clock is like 2 minutes fast, so I'm going to start just 2 minutes after. I don't know, it just creeps up on you. At the beginning of the semester, I swear it was on time, but it's 2 minutes fast. So now it is 8 o'clock, so now we are going to start. So remember, when I hold you 2 minutes later, it's really just, no, you can't go both ways, right? All right, here, our pop quiz tonight begins on page 168 of your casebook, and which is where we're begins on divorce and annulment. I want to cover this material through a pop quiz and a hypothetical. So what I want you to do is this. You're going to find the answer in Estates Code section 123.001, subsection B1. Here's what happens. Husband and wife are married. Wife is the testator. She makes her will. Okay, here's the question, so pay attention, please. Will says, everything to my beloved husband, H, if he survives me by 30 days. And if not, then everything to my beloved stepdaughter, H's child, G from his prior marriage, if she survives me by 30 days. And if not, then everything to my favorite cousin, C, if she survives me by 30 days. Everyone's got to survive by 30 days. I'm not going to trip you up. Everyone survives by 30 days. That's not the problem here, okay? So, husband and wife are married. Wife's a testator. The will says everything to husband if he survives, not to the daughter, and if not, to his daughter, which is her stepdaughter, never adopted by her, and if not, to my cousin C. Some years later, husband and wife are divorced. Then, thereafter, wife dies without ever, the testator, wife dies without ever changing her will. Who takes, survived by H, D, and C, who takes the estate and why? You'll find the answer in 123.001, subsection B1. Just 2 or 3 sentences is all you need. I'm going to give you 60 seconds to do that. Okay? 2 or 3 sentences. Probably don't even have to look it up. Give you about 10 more seconds. All right, time is up. Now, which row? I think it's the Jensen Spencer row. It's you all, right? Okay. It can be from you all, or it can be any volunteer who wants to walk me through the right answer to this. First, tell me who takes, and then tell me why. Okay, yes, Mr. I know. Yes. Bless you.
I would say C takes.
C takes. I think you're exactly right. Why? Even though H and D both survived, why? Take me through the statutory language.
121 or 123.01. B says that after the testator makes a will, which she did.
Okay, after the testator makes her will, okay, she's made her will, then what happens?
The marriage is dissolved by divorce, annulment, or declaration that the marriage is void.
That's not the declaration of marriage is void. Have we worked some statutes, or at least talked about briefly how a marriage can be declared void in I mean, even posthumously, actually, a marriage can be declared void, right? So it could be divorce, annulment, or for any other reason, the marriage is declared void. Okay, all right. Then if that happens, then what?
Unless it's expressly provided otherwise.
Unless the will expressly provides otherwise, stop right there. That means this is another one of those default rules that can be, as we've seen so many of them, that can be drafted around, but the will would have to expressly provide otherwise. I want to get back to that in just a moment. Then what?
Then all provisions of the will, including fiduciary appointments, shall be read as if the former spouse and each relative of the former spouse.
The former spouse would be H, right?
Right.
And each relative of the former spouse,
Not
that'd
a
be
relative.
daughter, right?
Right.
Each relative of the former spouse who is not a relative of the testator, she didn't adopt D. If she'd adopted D, that'd be a different story. D would take, right?
Right.
Okay. Or if this had been their child, then D would take, right? But this was her stepchild, then it shall be read as if what? As if
As it failed to survive the test.
had failed to survive the testator. So even though H and D literally did survive the testator by 30 days, they're going to be treated under the statute as having failed to survive the testator. Now, can I just ask you, note 1 on page 168, Professor Beyer asked about this, and I stopped a second ago when you were reading the statutory language. Unless the will expressly provides otherwise, the will can draft around. The testator may expressly provide that a subsequent divorce does not nullify provisions for the ex-spouse. Why would a testator include this type of provision? Why would a testator, in his or her right mind, include that? Or can you think of reasons why they might?
I think that if the testator got divorced and then maybe if they never got married again, and that was the only relationship they had throughout their life, why would they care?
Yeah, it might be amicable. It might be the kind of situation where the testator really loved, she really loved her ex-husband, but they just couldn't live together for whatever reason. Can you think of another reason, given these facts, why the testator might want to draft around that, maybe having nothing to do with her husband? Do you think that's good? That's good.
Really love the stepkid.
Maybe she wants to get a kid. Maybe she can raise that kid as if it were her own, and she's going to have to say something in the will. Because remember, it's not just the husband's not just treated as predeceasing, but the stepdaughter's treated as predeceasing. She's not related to the testator, but she's related only to the ex-spouse. So she might say, wife could have said to my husband if he survives, to my stepdaughter if she survives, and if not, to my beloved cousin, and put a paragraph or sentence in there saying, and if I am divorced, or if we are no longer married at the time of my death, I still want him to take. Or skip over him. I want her to take, my stepdaughter to take. There might be a reason why she might want to do that. Let me see what else I want to say about this. Let's change the facts on this one. Okay. Suppose, and this is all that was said. Suppose that testator is also survived by S. That's her sister, from whom she's estranged. Notice she's cut her out of the will, right? Okay. C is the is testator's cousin. So she's survived by her sister. She's survived by her cousin. And let's change the facts. Let's say testator leaves her entire estate to H if he survives me by 30 days, and if not, to D if he survives me by 30 days, period. She really, really loves her cousin. What result?
It would pass her intestacy.
It would pass for intestacy, right? Because these people are both treated as predeceasing. Now she's going to die intestate. I change the facts and take C out of the will. She really loves her cousin. This is whom she wants to take. Well, she should have put her in the will like she did the first time. Okay? So, who takes?
Sister.
The sister's more closely related, right? We know 1.001E or something like that. But the first intestacy statute, clearly the sister is going to take before a cousin's going to take. Right? Oh well, the sister, even though she's estranged from her. So she should have been more careful. She should have put or C, or if not, then to my beloved alma mater, Texas A&M University, something like that, if she doesn't want her sister to take or read her sister out of the will. Remember saying, under no circumstances, I hereby expressly disinherit my sister. I don't want my sister to take. Okay, this is just drawing on some things that we talked about earlier in the semester, and I just want you to see how kind of some of these things fit together. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. What else do I want to say about this? Oh, look at note 2 on page 168. Testator will leave the entire estate to spouse. Testator discovers the spouse is cheating and files for divorce. The stress of divorce proceedings triggers a heart attack, and testator dies. They're still married when testator dies. Will the spouse still receive the testator's estate? I think so. I don't think there's a statutory provision to treat a spouse who's in the process of being divorced as predeceasing, only if they actually are divorced. So, in connection with that, note 4, look at note, skip 3. 3, just the trust, this one is just beyond the scope of this course. Look at 4. May a court enjoin a person from executing a new will, for example, during the pendency of the divorce action, apropos of number 2. Suppose that in number 2, testator's will, husband discovers the spouse is cheating, files for divorce, and immediately changes his will. Can a court prevent a person, could the court prevent the husband from executing a new will while the divorce action is pending? Look at 253.001, which I thought I had marked, but I don't have marked. Someone call out the page if you see it. Oh, I do have marked. 211, page 211 is the statutory supplement. 253.001. Subsection A subsection B, a court may not prohibit a person from executing a new will, from executing a codicil to resisting a will, or revoking an existing will or codicil in whole or in part. Okay? The court can't do that. And subsection C tells us any portion of a court order that purports to prohibit a person from engaging in the action described in B is void and may be disregarded without penalty or sanction of any kind. And what if the court does do it? Well, it's just void. It's that simple. Subsection C tells us that. Why do you think a court would do that? Courts actually did do that. Apparently, courts with jurisdiction of divorce matters, apparently it was fairly routine for those family law courts to prevent one or the other spouse from changing his or her will during the pendency of the divorce proceedings. And the legislature thought, no, people can make a will. That's the whole point. You leave your property to whomever you want to, even if it's not your spouse, even if you're not divorcing the spouse. You don't have to leave it to your spouse. So we're going to prevent judges from issuing those kinds of orders. So that's what section 253.001 does. Number 5, we've already talked about that. Mentioned it earlier this evening. Yeah, it says view the discussion on page 46. You can look at that some other time. Questions about divorce, in effect, revoking a will. It doesn't revoke a will. It just revokes all provisions in favor of the ex-spouse and all relatives of the ex-spouse who aren't also related to the testator by blood. Steps, affinity. Okay? Question?
They're a bad drafter, and they just put, I leave everything to my husband, and do not name the husband by name, and then they get divorced and get a new husband.
Get a new husband.
What happens?
That's an interesting question, and that may be. Do you hear the question? That's really a good question, Mr. Navarro. And we may answer that later on. Okay. The question was, if I say I leave everything to my beloved wife, and I don't name my wife, and my wife and I get divorced, and then I marry someone else and then die. Maybe because I'm so happy. I don't know. I die of happiness. No, because I love my wife. But I'm just someone else, right? Could the second wife, in fact, take under the will and just in effect be substituted? That's an interesting question. I won't ask you that on the final exam, but keep that question in mind when we get to a doctrine called facts of independent significance, which we'll do when we get to, I think, chapter on will interpretation, the next chapter of the chapter after this. Okay? All right, that's a good question. We'll kind of cover that obliquely. Other good questions that I want to answer.
About someone else's will, we reference, let's say, grandparent, and references the kid and spouse. That's still the same effect.
I wouldn't have the same effect. So, to my beloved daughter-in-law, to my beloved son-in-law, the wife's mother left her entire estate to husband, her beloved son-in-law, or something like that, or something to him, and then they get divorced. No, it's only the spouse. So, no, that's a good question. It's not any other will. So, when there's a divorce, and you're the attorney representing not merely the divorced parties, but one of the relatives, perhaps, of the divorced parties who might have included one of the steps or the ex-spouse in the will, that may be an opportunity to educate them to go over that kind of a situation and maybe provide for change in the will. Okay, let's talk about pretermitted children. We're going to spend the rest of the evening talking about pretermitted children, I'm sure, on page 169. Some people I pronounce the word pretermitted, some people pronounce it pretermitted. It's an interesting word. It means kind of basically, literally, kind of cut off early. And it's a word that just doesn't come up in conversation very much. It really doesn't matter how you pronounce it, I think. Until I started teaching this class, I don't think I ever pronounced it. I don't remember them talking about it when I took my wills class many, many years ago at the University of Texas Law School, and so I don't know. So you're free to pronounce it however you want to pronounce it. I pronounce it pretermitted. I've mentioned it to you before that it is a favorite topic of the Texas bar examiners. At least once every other year, there's a pretermitted child issue, or maybe there's a pretermitted child issue or a possible pretermitted child issue. Sometimes they'll try to trick you, and it's not really a pretermitted child, and I'll give you an example or two of when that might happen. But often there will be a pretermitted child, and you're going to have to know how to distribute the seed estate. One thing I want to tell you to begin with, that's a common mistake students make on my final exam when there's a pretermitted child issue, and I just have to assume they make it on the bar exam too, when there's a pretermitted child issue. When there's a pretermitted child, that doesn't mean testator dies intestate. It doesn't go to intestacy. It just may mean that the pretermitted child, under certain circumstances, may take a share of the estate that's equal to the intestate share. But the rest of the will that doesn't distribute it to the pretermitted child goes just the way testator says. But the pretermitted child may take an intestate share under certain circumstances. But it doesn't mean that the will is thrown out and there's a pretermitted child and the estate is distributed as if it were, as if the seed had died intestate. That's not the correct answer. So I just want to make sure you see that. We're going to work through these problems and in a few moments, and I hope you will see that. All right, the pretermitted child statutes you will find in Chapter 255 of the Estates Code. And we used to know the section of the Probate Code, and I always have to look up the section in the Estates Code. 255, 051 through 056. 255 from 051 through .056. These are the pretermitted child statutes. And let's look at a definition. Firstly, let's look at a definition of what a pretermitted child is. And then we're going to take that issue up in connection with the Ozuna case. Because the Ozuna case is an interesting and creative argument. I think she was, Alma Ozuna got a little reading on that one. All right, look at 255.051. Look at subsection, or no, just definitions, 255.051, the definition of a pretermitted child. Pretermitted child means a child of the testator. Notice it's testator's child. It's not any descendant of the testator. It's not any heir of the testator. It's just a child of the testator. Why do I say that? Because other states have different statutes, and some of the other statutes, ours operates fairly narrowly. Other state statutes operate broadly, maybe on any descendant. This is not any descendant. So, a pretermitted child means a testator's child who's born or adopted, 1, during testator's lifetime or after testator's death, and 2, after the execution of testator's will. How's someone adopted after testator's death? I don't think that's properly modified. But someone could be born after testator's death, right? The child could have been in gestation at the time of testator's death, and it's all after the will was executed. So it's a child born or adopted after the will was executed. Right? Born or adopted after the will was executed. So, in the Ozuna case, and maybe I'll just take this myself, because I do want to break you into small groups to cover some of these problems, and I think it's going to take a little bit of time to get through. What happened in the Ozuna case, the testator, Putnam, executed a will, And in the will, he left $100,000 to the planful of Ozuna. At the time he executed the will, Putnam and Ozuna were not related in any way. But a few months after he executed the will, he, the testator, adopted her. So it was an adult adoption. And a few months after this adoption, he died without changing his will. Okay? So she says, hey, I'm a pretermitted child. Of course I get my $100,000 under the will, but I also get whatever might have been my share, what additional share, under the pretermitted children statutes. So we don't have to get to the operation of the statute because the court said she wouldn't take. Look at section 255.052. Under what circumstances will a pretermitted child take? Subsection A. 255.053 and 054. Those are the guts. Those are the operative provisions of when a pretermitted child, or what a pretermitted child will take, what share they'll take. We don't get to that if 255.052 says that they aren't applicable. So they apply only to a pretermitted child who is not, 1, mentioned in the testator's will, 2, provided for in the testator's will, or 3, otherwise provided for. We'll talk about what otherwise provided for means in a moment. So was she provided for in testator's will or mentioned in testator's will? The court said, yeah, she was mentioned in testator's will. She was provided for. She got $100,000 in the will, and therefore she doesn't take. These pretermitted child statutes don't give the pretermitted child a share in testator's estate. Always, it's only if the pretermitted child wasn't mentioned in the will, provided for in the will, or otherwise provided for. So she said, well, wait a second. When he wrote the will, we weren't related. He adopted me after he wrote the will, so I'm technically a pretermitted child. The court said, it doesn't matter. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. We don't have to decide that, because even if you are a pretermitted child, these statutes don't say that a pretermitted child always takes. A pretermitted child only takes if the pretermitted child is not, for our purposes, provided for in the will, and you were provided for in the will. You weren't adopted at the time, but that doesn't matter. That's not the way the statute operates. I don't think the court's right. Pretermitted, she wanted 2 bites of the apple. She wanted $100,000, and then she wanted her, what would have been her intestate share had this operated. Presumably that would have been everything. Presumably he didn't have any other children. I think she got too greedy. And she cited all sorts of statutes from other states and all sorts of cases from other states saying, if I'd been in these other states, I would have taken. And the court said, the other states have different rules. They have different laws. Our law is actually fairly narrow. And so she doesn't take. And that's what I want you to take away from this case. Question about this case.
Is the order in the statute an actual or? Or is it one of those ors that mean and?
You mean is not mentioned in the will, provided for in the will, or otherwise provided for? That's an or. It's or. It could have been any of those things. So we'll see. Good question. Let's just look right now. Look and see what the at the back of the case book, the form will provides about pretermitted children. The sample will. Look at page 467. Look at provision Article 2D, dealing with pretermitted children. Page 467 of your case book. 2D. I intentionally make no provision for any child whom I may have or adopt after the execution of this will. Now, we've mentioned the pretermitted children in the will. They don't have to provide, but you provide for them, give them some money, $1, a gift, a contingent gift, a part of the residuary estate, whatever it may be, or just mention them in the will. We've mentioned the pretermitted child, right? I intentionally make no provision for them. That's excluded pretermitted children. We can also draft around it to include pretermitted children. We could say something to the effect that when I mention children in this will, when I make gifts to my children in this will, I mean both the children who are alive at the time I execute this will and any child born or adopted hereafter. Now we've included the pretermitted child in, or children in, with the other children. Okay? So it really is an or. And the third possibility is, let's just go ahead and take care of this one now. 255.052, subsection A3, otherwise provided for by the testator. What does it mean to be otherwise provided for by testator? Subsection B tells us it is when this provision is made B2, outside the testator's will and is intended to take effect at testator's death. Outside the will, intended to take effect at testator's death. So if the pretermitted child is provided for in the will, mentioned, included in or excluded out of the will, or otherwise provided for, then the pretermitted child won't pay. Now, Zuna, she got $100,000 in the will. She was provided for. She didn't have to be a pretermitted child. She didn't have to be provided for as a pretermitted child. She just was provided for. That was good enough. Let's go back to this otherwise provided for. Provided for outside the will, intended to take effect at death, testator's death. Give me an example of that. Just call out some examples of what that's like. If a life insurance beneficiary, that's probably the best example. What else might be? You know, that's probably the single best one, but there may be some others. What else? A trust. There might be a trust provision. Testator might set up an inter vivos trust that will pay a share to any pretermitted child on testator's death. That would take effect at testator's death. What else? What else? A payable on death or joint payable on death, transfer on death account to that child, right? Remember, think about this. Testator executes the will, then the child is born, then the testator makes the child beneficiary of an inter vivos trust or a life insurance policy or a payable on death bank account or a joint tenancy with right of survivorship bank account. Any of those things are provided for outside the will. That's all non-probate property, right? Outside the will, but it's intended to take effect at testator's death. Right, what's the policy behind the pretermitted child statute? What do you think? Why are these there? Most states have them. Why do you think they're there? Good.
I would think that in case someone didn't change their will and they were married and then the marriage ended, and so if that marriage ended, they don't get that take out. So parties, I guess.
Okay, I'm trying to see, I think I see where you're going. Let me see if I can get someone to kind of take us, you started us down the track, how about that?
So a child isn't a ward of the state, possibly?
Okay, something in between these two things,
Okay.
Mr. Brand. Yeah, no. You started us down the track. No, that's not entirely wrong, but
The statute tries to assume what a testator would want if they had considered this into their will. It comes after the execution of the will.
right. The testator's already executed the will, then the testator has a child born or adopted by the testator, born to the testator, adopted. So the testator doesn't have, if they haven't made provisions for this child, maybe they simply forgot the child. And we don't want them to be a ward of the state, right? But we want, what would the average testator assume? The average testator would want this child to be taken care of. Gee, I didn't mean to forget that child after all, and that's what the legislators thought. And maybe that's what you're saying. I think that's what you're saying. Sure it was. Yeah, it was exactly what you're saying. I just rephrased it. So that is, that's why we have the pretermitted child statute. That's why most, perhaps all states have pretermitted child statutes. Some states' statutes operate much more broadly than Texas statutes. I'm not going to test you on other states. I'm only going to test you, and heavily, on what Texas pretermitted child statutes do. Yeah, it'll be on my final exam, I promise. You'll see it in different, maybe different forms or fashions. Yes.
So let's say that a guy is married and has.
Okay, I don't want to do any hypos right now because we're going to I've got to have time to do plenty of hypos in the next 45 minutes. Okay, but I'll stay after class and do your hypo. Okay, I promise. Take that down. Don't forget it. If I have time, I'll answer. I promise. Okay. And thank you for your patience on that, Ms. Johnson. Okay. All right. Let's. Any more questions I don't want to answer? No. Good. All right. Let's do this. Let's do the problems afterwards quickly, and then I want to break us into small groups to the questions. Then we'll do the problems. I think those are problems 5, 6, 7, and 9, and I'll break us into small groups in a moment, and we'll do those problems. Notes 1 and 2, I think we just talked about it. Note 3, how may a testator ensure that a pretermitted child statute will not apply to the testator's estate? Draft around it. We saw an example of it. It's very, very simple, right? So, and in case you don't believe me, I thought it said the testator's will provides otherwise, but just draft around it. It's very simple, right? We just saw how we drafted around it. Note 4 on page 171. What do I want to say about this? Gorski versus Welch. I mean, I've got a page of notes on this, and I'm going to test you heavily on the pretermitted child statutes, and I just don't want to waste time on this. It's an important and an interesting note. I'm not going to test you on that. I'm just going to tell you the court got the case wrong. Absolutely wrong. The court was not right about that. There's no way you can convince me that those judges weren't either morons or corrupt or both. No. But no, that's unfair. They were just morons. No, it was wrong. And I will tell you this. There is a case out of Dallas that was decided after Gorski versus Welch. And in that case, the court pretty much said that Gorski got the case wrong. They know the exact same fact situation, or very similar fact situation, Social Security survivors benefits. And the court said, yeah, Gorski said that Social Security survivors benefits, the fact that a child got Social Security survivors benefits, made that child otherwise provided for, so they weren't a pretermitted child that took under the statute. That's what the Gorski case said. The Hendler case said, yeah, we're confronted with the same situation here. We see Gorski, and they just ignored it because they thought the Dallas court thought the San Antonio court got the case wrong, and I think they're right. I'm sure the San Antonio court is full of lovely, nice, honest, intelligent people, but they got that case wrong. Okay, think about it. Intended, otherwise provided for is defined as outside the testator's will, intended to take effect at testator's death. Do you think outside testator's will intended to take effect at testator's death? What kind of provision do you think that is? Do you think how's that different from Social Security survivor's benefit, or in the Gorski case they also had contractual child support? Contractual child support, let's take care of right now. Intended to take effect at testator's death. Testator was paying for child support right now, so throw that one out. The court missed that one. Social Security survivor benefits, you get those on death of the parent, held not a pretermitted child. Why is that wrong?
Those aren't like intentional set out.
Those aren't voluntary provisions. Try not paying your Social Security taxes. You'll be going to Leavenworth, where you'll have all the time you want to write a new will, right? Because you'll use the prison library and all that stuff, right? It's not a voluntary disposition of property. It's revocable up until the time of testator's death. That's what a will is. That's what any of these non-probate substitutes are. So, I think the court got the case wrong. The Dallas Court of Appeals thinks that the Welch case, Gorski versus Welch case, was wrongly decided. I can't spend any more time on it. Delighted to stay around after class and talk to you about it. I won't ask you about Note 4, I promise that. But it's interesting. I think it's just interesting. But I think it's wrong. Note 8. Let's look at Note 8 and Note 10, and then I'm going to break into small groups for you to do some of these others. Note 8. From where does the pretermitted child recover the child's share? We still haven't talked about what the share is yet. You're going to provide that answer when we look at the problems. If the pretermitted child takes a share of testator's estate, look at 255.055. 055 subsection A says that pretermitted child, I'm going to read this to you in pertinent part, pretermitted child may recover the share of testator's estate to which the child is entitled, whatever that may be under one of those sections, ... Next page, rateably, pro rata, rateably, out of the portions of the estate passing to those persons under the will, the person that the pretermitted child is divesting. Okay? Subsection B tells us, in abating the interest of the beneficiaries described by subsection A, the character of the testamentary plan adopted by the testator must be preserved to the maximum extent possible. That is, it's going to be recovered rateably, subsection A. Subsection B tells us, and we've got to preserve the testator's estate plan to the maximum extent possible. If it's in trust, it needs to be in trust if possible. If it's not in trust, if it's outright, it's outright, etc. Okay. One other thing I want to say. Notice 255.056. Well, just notice it. We'll see. You'll just don't forget 255.056, and we'll see how that may work in the in these problems that we're going to get to in a moment. Finally, let's see. Note 10. I don't have time to go into note 10 on pages 172 and 173, but I'm just going to tell you, I agree that the sons here were provided for in the will as contingent beneficiaries, because they would have been heirs had their mother, had the testator's spouse, they were non-marital, right, not survived. So that was, note 10, you can just take down right now, I agree. That court was neither on the tape, nor were they morons. Like the court. No, okay, all right. So note 10 I agree with. Note 4 I disagree with. All right, now I want you to do notes 5 through 7 and note 9, and I'm going to have you break into small groups and do those notes. Look at the statutes, 5, 6, and 7 that are on pages 171 and 172. If we don't have time, I'll tell you what, just do 5 through 7. I'll do 9 if we have time myself. 9 is an odd duck. So just do problems 5 through 7. Break into small groups. I want you to be able to tell me the answer and tell me how you got there, show me your statutory authority for it. And I think I'm going to give you 15 minutes. 15 minutes, okay? So please, break into small groups. I'll walk around. You got questions, raise your hand, but I probably won't answer them. But I will in 15 minutes, okay? But I might. You never know. Try me. I might be soft about it.
Alrighty, 5A.
No. Go back to the assessment.
Remember, if the pretermitted child statute applies, it doesn't throw you into intestacy. It only if the pretermitted child may take what would have been his or her intestate share. That's all, but it doesn't throw the entire will out before you intestacy.
Okay. 3 children. So W is a pretermitted child because his PH is not provided for in the testator's will. So then after that, we'd go to
Okay.
oh
Yes?
yes.
Yeah. Question?
No, you scared me. Sorry.
I
Okay.
scared you.
Oh yeah. Okay, so then we jump into what you would get otherwise,
Yeah.
which would be 1/4. Because there's 3 children, right? And W's gives the entire state to H.
Well, so hold on.
Oh what? Oh wait. Okay.
How much will P take under the following circumstances? That's what the children.
No.
Well, H is still alive, right?
Oh yeah, H is still alive. Okay, so H gets.
Would get all,
Okay.
because P is still provided for through H.
Oh. Yeah. I guess that makes
Is
sense.
that in there somewhere? That in the statutes are?
So it's H is P's father and son. So I'm guessing. Okay. Yeah. H is okay. So I guess. So yeah, I'd say H is actually provided for. No wait, yeah, no, P is provided for because
That's what I'm saying. I don't think so.
Okay. And you want to find it in the statute that says that specific? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, how is that? I guess I would argue it's P is provided for.
B. Four? Wait, what?
I guess P1 in the testator's will.
Maybe it's 25552 V2. Do you see that?
I think it's B1. B2, outside a testator's will, it is intended to take possession of the testator's death.
Oh, that was like insurance and
Yeah.
intervite. Okay.
I think it's in the testator's will.
Okay.
Is going to the P's father,
Right.
right? The other children wouldn't take anything.
Right.
So I guess I think I would just say
B.
55, 052, B1, will.
Section
Father.
201, if the testator had died
Question.
without a surviving spouse.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think that's the best one. Because I think you're right, for subsection 2, it would be like a life insurance policy
Yeah,
or...
because it's outside the will, but H is inside the will.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it says.
B will,
What share of
Yeah, so he would get 1/4 of it, and the 3/4 would go to the,
same as,
so by reading it, someone's like a 9.
I think it's the same as above.
I think it's same as, yeah.
Because that 25,000 counts as being provided for.
Yeah. I kind of also look at the children. Are they gonna the other?
Yeah.
They're not getting anything. Why would P get something?
Right. Okay.
Same as a C.
Well, I'm gonna write because the 25,000
Yeah.
counts.
The 3 living children were not written because they don't get nothing, but the pretermitted child gets the residual.
Think it's a residual or it's 25%? It's 25%. Why?
Okay.
What's your statutory authority? Show me what language you're showing me. You don't have to go to 201.
Okay. So they're not provided for.
Right, 201, that's it.
So those kids counted dividing up the share, but they don't get their
They don't get their share, so it's a pretermitted child free better. Wow, yeah, wow. You think this is how the average testator?
So I guess this is where it comes into play.
Any of their children take, or they wouldn't have rated their children.
So then this one, they would get 25% on the residual, and the 75% would go to the rest of their funds.
Yes,
and the other 3 kids get cut out.
that's right, because that's what testator wanted. It's not, the surprise to me isn't the other 3 kids getting cut out. The surprise is the way the statute operates to let the pretermitted child in. They clearly didn't want to count whoever they were. How easy is it to draft around? Put that sentence in that says, but I intentionally made no provision for a child born or adopted after I execute this will. Now we're taking care of it. All right. How are we doing here?
Was that C?
What? That was B, but C is the same answer. Yeah, it's just not the $25,000, right? C is basically the same answer as B. It's the same principle, isn't it?
You mean B and A?
No, it's B and C. B and C are more or less the same, right? Except for that $25,000.
Right. Okay. Oh, so the 25,000 goes to.
Don't worry about everybody else. Don't worry about it. How much is the pretermitted child?
Okay, I say it's 255,053. B2, an equal share of those benefits. Wait, no. B.
Child takes $57,500. Okay.
Do you think it's B2 or as authority for? All right, so let's say she had given equal shares to each child. Then
053A. 053A. No provision is made in the testator's will for any child untested. Testator is living when the testator executes the will. A pre-permitted succeeds to the portion.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know they were, I mean, look, he did exactly the same. At least we got it right. Okay.
Oh, okay. So it's it's section A, 255.053A. No provision any children, a pretermitted child succeeds to the portion that would have been entitled if the testator died intestate without a surviving spouse. So that's 1/4, because we don't include the spouse. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It says right here. You can also testate pretermitted children with the children living benefits to confer.
Back to our that.
Okay.
Oh, right here. Other than the estate provides.
Thoughts? As if the estate went intestate without the spouse being included.
So in A, other than any portion of the estate devised to the pretermitted child's other parent. So I guess, so this was devised to the other parent. So does he get 1/4 of
There's this clause that changes the whole thing.
Well, if it's the same fact,
1/4 of the residuary?
Where do you get the residuary from?
So I guess the way I read A is that he would be entitled to 1/4 of whatever the estate is minus what is devised to the other parent.
Okay.
So if terminated child succeeds to the portion of the testator separate in the estate other than any portion of the estate devised to the terminated child's parent. That's devised to the other parent.
Nothing
Other
on
than,
6A?
Right.
So
The pretermitted child has
to
nothing
which
in
the
B and
child
C?
would have been
Think
entitled
about it again. Think
double
about
O one.
what?
So 001 is
H is her husband.
uh,
H is her husband. H is her husband.
It didn't say that.
Okay, H is her
okay,
husband.
so
H is her husband.
yeah, without a spouse, so the children would
Split.
4 ways.
So 4 ways from the residuary estate.
Yeah, so I'm thinking it's 1/4 of the residuary. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So we were wrong initially about that. Okay.
Because we didn't.
You got 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
No. So what he's saying, C is the same thing, in that while you don't have to worry about the 25,000, but the conditions were, did the testator make any provisions for any of the children? No.
No.
So, notwithstanding whatever he's given to the other parent, which is 0, they would get what the portion under 001
Right. Okay. Being the
being 1/4 of, in this case, the 1/4 of the entire estate.
Okay.
So that was 2.
Alright, 1 more minute. 1 more minute. Do you need 1 more minute or not? Oh, yeah. Yeah. 1 more minute? Yeah? Yeah? Okay.
1.
I'm thinking it's not rapidly.
7? Or on
No,
6?
it would be considering that there were other children.
And on B.
I think we just all get a pass on the final one and just 4 more items.
Nice try.
It's equitable.
Well, everyone gets a bit.
Hey, D is first degree.
Okay, the minute's up. The minute's up. It is time. We can't put it off any longer. All right. Notice the kind of the operative provisions here. The guts are 255.053 and 054. And 054 applies where the testator has no other children when the will is executed. When there's a pretermitted child, but when there's no other children when the will is executed. 053 is when there are other children when the will is executed. Subsection A says, no, this applies when there's no provision made for the other children. And subsection B applies when there is provision made for the other children. So think about it. All of the possibilities are covered. Testator executes the will and either has other children, 053, no other children, 054. Has other children, they're not provided for, subsection A, they are provided for, subsection B. Right? That's the, and I hope you've seen it. Okay, and I think that all of this, problems 5, 6, and 7 take us through all of them. All right, so let's look at problem number 5. And problem number 5 on page 171. Testator has 3 other children when testator executes the will, right? And then after testator executes her will, she had a 4th child, P. Okay. So testator has other children. Which section are we in? 053 or 054? 053. Now, depending on the fact, it might be an A or B, right? Depending on whether there's provision made for those other children. Okay. So we're in 053. And number 1, and who wants to help me with 5, A, B, and C? Let's try A, B, and C first. We'll take them all up together because I think they relate. Who wants to help me with A, B, and C? Anyone? If not, I'll make a volunteer. Going once, going twice. How about Peel, Nick Peel? How about helping me on?
I can try.
You try. That's all I'm going to ask. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. Okay. Will gives her entire estate to H, right? My entire estate to my beloved husband. What do we call that kind of a will? My entire estate to my beloved husband. My entire estate to Texas Wesleyan. My entire estate to Texas A&M. My entire estate to my favorite nephew. If that's the only gift in the will, what do we call that? How do we classify that gift? What? Yes, read my mind. What kind of a gift is it? Is it a specific bequest? Is it a general bequest?
General.
No, it's the residuary estate. The whole estate's a residuary. There are no specific or general. The whole thing's a residuary, right? That's what you were thinking of. Okay. My W's will give the entire estate to my beloved husband H. The entire estate's the residuary estate. Doesn't really matter here so much. But all right. So what happens, Mr. Peel? What happens in this case? We're on 255.053. Are we in subsection A or B? We're in A because there's no provision made for the other children. Okay. So, by the way, in problem 5B and 5C, are we also in 053 subsection A?
Yes.
Yes, great. That's why I gave you those 3 together. Okay, great. So, what happens? How is the estate distributed? W's will gives her entire estate to H. Subsection A tells us if no provision is made in the testator's will for any child of the testator who's living when the testator executes the will. That's the situation we have here in 5A, B, and C. From 5A, B, and C. Pretermitted child, and this person P is a pretermitted child because they were born or adopted after the will was executed. The facts don't tell us that they were provided for outside the will. We know that they weren't provided for inside the will or mentioned in the will. Pretermitted child succeeds to the portion of the testator's separate and community estate, that is, mother W's half of the community and any of her separate property, all of her separate property that she might have, succeeds to the portion of the estate, to which she would be entitled had under section 201.001, that's the intestacy statute, the testator had died intestate without a surviving spouse. Okay? But there is an exception that applies in 5A, right, Mr. Peel? There is that parenthetical that I alighted over. Other than any portion of the estate devised to the pretermitted child's other parent. In 5A, how much of the estate is devised for the pretermitted child's other parent? 5A? All of it. That's exactly right. So how much does the pretermitted child take in 5A? How's the estate distributed? Pretermitted child takes what? In 5A. And you can get help from your friends you're working with.
Yeah.
0. Okay. So who gets the estate? The husband, just the way it's written. Okay? Remember, you've got a pretermitted child that doesn't throw you into intestacy. It just may give the pretermitted child their intestate share. But 5A it didn't because of that language, other than any portion of the estate devised to the pretermitted child's other parent. This was 100% of it. in 5A. This divides the other parent. Mr. Beal, how about in 5B? What happens to the $25,000 that's given to H?
That goes to H.
That goes to H, that's right. Other than, we ignore, we take out, the pretermitted child doesn't divest their own parent. So in 5B, other than any portion of the estate divided the pretermitted child's other parent, $25,000 in 5B still goes to H. How about the residuary estate to the American Red Cross?
That goes to the Red Cross.
Well, does it? The pretermitted child succeeds to the portion of testator's separate and community estate, ... to which the pretermitted child would have been entitled under section 201.001. How much, that's intestacy, how much would the pretermitted child have been entitled to? Under 1/4. So he's going to take in 5B, he takes 1/4 of the residuary estate. Husband takes $25,000. American Red Cross takes 75% of the residuary, and the pretermitted child takes 1/4, 25% of the residuary, because there were 4 children, and the testator, the pretermitted child takes his or her intestate share, which is 1/4. What happens to what about the other 3 children's share? They don't take anything. The pretermitted child is treated better than the other children in 5B. How about 5C? It's the same thing, right? There's not even the $25,000. Just 1/4 of the estate goes to the pretermitted child. It's all the residuary estate. Pretermitted child in 5B and 5C is treated better than the other children. That's what the average decedent would want? I don't know, but that's the way this is written. Remember, we can draft around it really easily. We saw how to draft around it. So, okay. Mr. Peel, thank you very much. Okay, 5A, B, and C. Question about that? Or why? Okay. How about D? D. Will gives $50,000 to A, $30,000 to B, and $20,000 to C. I've told you before, and I'll say it again now, but I told you I was walking around. I'll never do this to you. I might give unequal shares, but I'm not going to have 3 people. I'm not going to have the shares be quite so difficult to compute. It's not the end of the world. We can compute it, but I would just give you much more, either equal shares or only 2 children. You know, I might have 10,000 and 5,000, something like that. So it'd be really obvious that one takes twice as much as the other, has to give up twice as much as the other. So what do we do in D? And let's do D and E together. How about D and E together? Who wants to take D and E? Oh, someone wants to take it. Mr. Davis, come on. I know. Mr. Peel, you can help him.
It's a little outside the room.
That's okay. No, that's okay. You did fine. You did fine. All right.
Statute, but pretty much he takes 1/4 from A, B, and C.
Right. It's going to take 1/4 in Y. Which section of the statute are we in? Remember, we're in 253.053. Are we in A or B? Now we're in B because provision, the testator has made provision for the other children, at least one of the other children as well. Doesn't have to be all of them, at least one of them. So in problem 5D and 5E, we're in subsection B both times. 253 subsection B. Provision's made for the other children. So if provision has been made, whether vested or contingent, it could be a contingent remainder, and they could not take under the contingent remainder. That's the key to the answer in question number 10 that I said I agree with the report on. So you can mark that now. Question 10 on page 172 or 3. Right, so provision or other contingent, vested or contingent is made in testator's will for one or more of the children who are living, then the pretermitted child is entitled only to a portion of the disposition made to the other children under the will. This equal to the portion the child would have received if the testator had included all the testator's pretermitted children with the children on whom benefits were conferred and given an equal share. And if he had been included and given an equal share, how much was given to the other children? Total. 50, 30, 20, $100,000, and his share, an equal share, would have been 1/4, $25,000. You're exactly right. And we take 1/4 from A, 1/4 from B, 1/4 from C, but 1/4 is going to be more of 50,000 than it is 20,000, right? And so I think they come out 37,500 to A, 22,500 to B, and 15,000 to C. I think is how that goes. That's just how I remember it. I just wouldn't do that to you. I promise it'd be easier. I mean, might have 2 children, and one might take 2/3 and the other 1/3, or 3/4, 1/4. It'd be very easy to compute. I think I don't like that. How about number E? The will gives 100,000 to A.
Taking 50,000, it's 22 now.
They take 50,000 because there are only 2, right? Because it's divisions made. It's entitled to only portion made to the other children. There's only one other child. That's the whole $100,000. It's as if they've been included with that other child and given an equal share too. What about child B and C? Oh well, testator didn't want them to take, so they're not going to take. But P, the pretermitted child, gets to take. How about 5F? As long as Mr. Davis, as long as we're in the neighborhood. How about 5F? W named P as a beneficiary of her life insurance policy.
She's already benefiting. I was thinking she would get the name.
You're exactly right. Since she's already benefiting, she's not going to take. And can you point me out the statutory language? It's not in 053 or 054. It's somewhere else. It's in 052. We talked about it before. Remember? Subsection A.
Subsection A. Yeah.
These only apply to a pretermitted child who is not what? A3, not otherwise provided for, and B2 defines otherwise provided for outside the one of the ways to be otherwise provided for is outside the testator's will tend to take effect at testator's death. That's exactly what a life insurance policy is. So B takes nothing in 5F. Okay, question about that? Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that. Well, let's do number 6 because some of this is fairly similar. Number 6, after executing her will, W has her first child, P. W's will does not mention or provide for P. How much will P take under the following circumstances, assuming that H is P's father? What section are we in now? Which section are we in? 053 or 054? 054, because there were no other children. That's exactly right. Okay. So, A, 6A. Who wants to do 6A? Aravala, can I get you to help me with this one, please? And you can get Mr. Spencer to help. You can get your whole group. Mr. Spencer, were you all three together, right? You can get your whole group to help. Okay?
Child doesn't get anything under A.
The child gets nothing under A, and why not? How is this different than question 5A on page 171? We're in a different section, but the result's the same, right? In fact, the language is the exact same, isn't it? Right? 54, testator, you're exactly right. The pretermitted child takes nothing. H takes the entire estate in problem 6A, just like in 5A. It's the exact same language in 054 as it is in 053 subsection A. Same thing, other than it's different. There were children or there weren't children. Testator has no child living when the testator executes the last will. Pretermitted child succeeds the portion of testator's separate and community estate, ... to which the pretermitted child would have been entitled under intestacy law if the testator had died intestate without a surviving spouse. And again, other than any portion of the estate devised to the pretermitted child's other parent, and how much in 6A is devised to the pretermitted child's other parent?
Everything?
Everything. So the pretermitted child takes nothing in 6A. How about 6B? What happens if the $25,000 goes to H? It would go to H. It's protected for the reason we just said. H takes the $25,000. Now, unlike problem 5B, in 6B, how much of the estate does P, the pretermitted child, how much of the residual estate does P take?
100% of the residual.
100% of the residual. The American Red Cross takes nothing. That has seriously disrupted testator's testamentary plan. It was somewhat disrupted in 5B and 5C, but it's seriously disrupted in 6B. And how about 6C? Is the answer the same in 6C? Yes. Pretermitted child takes 100% of the estate. Okay. Notice in 6B and 6C, let's look at 6C, 100% of the estate. That doesn't mean testator dies intestate. That's not right. The rest of the will, any other provisions of the will, naming fiduciaries, naming, setting up trust, that kind of thing, the will is not thrown out. It just means the pretermitted child in 6B and 6C takes his or her intestate share. Just an intestate share. It doesn't mean the testator died intestate. Wow, that's really something. Question about that? That's 054. See how 054 works. Now let's look at number 7. This is an important one. The statute just changed a few years ago. And by the way, 255.051 pretermitted child statutes, in your statutory supplement, Professor Byers works through a number of examples that look suspiciously like or even identically like these. So you might just, if I'm going too fast for you, look in there, okay? He works through these as well. Why didn't you tell me that before we broke in a small group? Well, you know, I got to hold some of the secrets back. Otherwise, you know, get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of class, right? No. I have to stay here and work the class. All right, number 7. After H married W, both were childless prior to marriage, H executed a will and his entire estate to W. Okay? This will then mention or provide for any subsequent children. So the will is silent. As a result of an affair H had with X, P was born. There's clear and convincing evidence of P that H is P's father. P is a pretermitted child born after the will was executed, and W is not P's mother. So how much of the estate is P entitled to upon H's death? Okay? Which section are we in? 054 or 053? Well, we'll be in 056 and 7. We'll get there in a second. Now you're jumping ahead of me here. Okay. 054, right? There were no children when T executed the will, when H executed the will. All right? We're going to have to be limited by 056. You're exactly right. All right, so testator has no children, has no child living when the testator executes the will. Pretermitted child succeeds to the portion of testator's separate community estate, other than any portion of the estate divides the pretermitted child's other parent. Number 7, was any of the estate left to X, the pretermitted child's other parent? Nope, so we can forget about that little thing. To which the pretermitted child would have been entitled under section 201.001 if the testator had died intestate without a surviving spouse. How much would that have been? What would the intestate share have been before we get to 056? Would have been 100%. Pretermitted child would, and indeed until the statute was amended a few years ago, it in fact was 100%. And what would have happened? Think about this. W would have had to live with the knowledge not only that her beloved husband H had an affair with X and had a child out of wedlock, but the child was going to get 100%. But 056, the statute was amended recently to add 056, and 056 says what? If the pretermitted child's other parent is not the surviving parent of the testator, who's the pretermitted child's other parent, number 7? Who is it? X, that's right. And it's that's not the surviving spouse of testator, is it? Oh, okay. Then the portion of the testator's estate to which the pretermitted child is entitled under 053A or 054, if we were under 054, may not reduce the portion of the testator's estate passing to the testator's surviving spouse, passing to W, by more than 1/2. Knowing that, in problem number 7, how is the estate distributed? 50% to W, 50% to the pretermitted child. By the way, change the facts in number 7. What if all the facts are the exact same? What if testator's estate, what if testator had said the will had said, my entire estate to my beloved mother? How would the estate be distributed? Nothing to H, nothing to W, because W is so rich in her own right, H didn't feel like he had to leave her anything. His will said, my entire estate to my beloved mother in number 7. Let's change it to that. My entire estate to my beloved mother, number 7. How is it distributed? Be 100% to pretermitted child. Wow, that's serious if this testator plan.
Unless X happens to also be.
Oh, this isn't Arkansas or Mississippi here. Or Alabama. Yeah, I'm going to pick on Alabama this week. But anyway, yes, that's right. Yes, let's leave aside that very unusual, unbiblical, and just awful kind of situation. Okay. Let's see what else I want to say about this. All right, one last thing, and I'm out of time, aren't I? Okay, yes, I am out of time, I know. I've even borrowed the extra 2 minutes. Okay, when we come back next time, I still have 1 or 2 more things I want to say about pretermitted children. I may talk about question number 9, and then there's one other little typo that I think is pretty important, so important that if I actually got on a final exam, so I'm sure they'll tell you about it in class lunch. that's where I'll start. Okay? Thank you for your patience. This is hard stuff, I know, some of this is difficult, but I think you can kind of get the hang of it.
I think spoke down.
Yes, ma'am. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
I just find it it does sometimes,
We have class on Thursday, right?
That's my understanding. Why do you ask?
Because you'll see our next class on Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, that's, yeah. I think we do.
Adios. Tuesday, Thursday, and then yeah, on mine. I'm pretty low for the artificial system.
This is why I like to have people away a little bit.
Hey, how's it going?
Why missing Toastmasters on Friday?
I'm not going to be in town.
Oh. Austin?
No, College Station.
Oh.
So, class.
What class have you going at College Station?
Taking one that's cross-registered, state and local trade barriers. Yeah. So, we go in visiting those students.
Business school or whatever?
Yeah, the Bush School. But it is for a client, so we have to like put together some presentations. We might as well do it in person. And everyone's kind of spinning in circles about it, but it's complicated but worthwhile, I think. Mysterious but playful.
Well, luckily you don't really have like a huge role on Friday, so it'll be easy to fill.
I have like the smallest role.
Yeah, except for now we're like forcing people to do the invocation or whatever with Kyle, right? So like nobody's gonna want to take it.
Oh, so you're saying that I would have been a good person to take it?
Yeah, 'cause he wouldn't have given a shit. He would have done it.
No, I'll do the whole meeting if I need to. I've told that to everyone many times.
Yeah, I know. You're also like the forever presiding officer, but like, yeah. Oh shit.
Everyone else should. You know, we need to have elections in this. Well, we will have elections in December, and if no one wants to be president, then we will be presidentless because I'm stepping down.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, son. Why?
2 reasons. 1, I'm busy. 2, we need to think about the prosperity of the club. We need to think about the future. The club will not survive if I remain president, because look how hard we're having trouble with VP of Education is because we didn't train a new VP while Brian was here.
Yeah.
So next president, I can help train them. Julia can help train the next VP. So
One thing too I was thinking about for VP of Education is that if somebody was supposed to have like a role like Toastmaster of the Day or something, and then they're like, oh, I can't do it, they should be the next person who should be, like they should be the first in line to pick up somebody's role for that.
you mean VP of Education?
Like they should keep track of like I missed my opportunity to be TMD this semester, and so now I'm cycling through all the other stuff, but there's been other people who've been like, I can't do Toastmaster today, and it's like I should, like whoever missed the opportunity
You should bring that up.
previously.
Do you want to be president?
No, not really.
Maybe in December?
I like maybe in December.
You know, there's actually a lot of fun things you do. I get a lot of emails that you guys, it's actually not exactly fun, but it's kind of like work.
I mean, I get some emails or whatever, but like I'm struggling even just doing the membership, or not membership, marketing. Like, I'm not doing a very good job of being VP of marketing. you know,
Yeah.
because I'm never at school, you know, so that makes things kind of difficult. I'm so out of touch with the 1Ls. Like, I have no, like, I just don't, so,
I know someone. Oh, we know Zach, right?
yeah.
Zach's great. I see him all the time. He comes and visits me at precisely 11:34 every Saturday in the library.
Weird.
Yeah, we're kind of like 11:34 buddies.
Cool.
I think he has a schedule of doing things,
Yeah.
but
Cool.
this is about the time that they close. But
Well,
how's the